You're welcome, and you can share what you have in store for us about SDLC. Patrick, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Macrin. Please, someone confirm if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm going to show my face for a minute, and then I'm going to go off video, and then we get into our presentation. That is me. I hope I'm visible. I know blackness is like something, but yeah, that is me. So welcome. My name is Patrick. I'm a cloud and software engineer and also a co-admin at CloudForceSky. Most times I'm normally at the other end of the webinars where I'm the one hosting guys, but now today I'm on this other end being hosted. I'm looking forward to having a nice interaction with all of us. And then I'm going to try and make this session interactive. Just be prepared for some basic knowledge, some high-level overview of what SDLC is and all the rest. And then I also like engagement, so I'm going to pose a few questions here and there just to make sure that we are moving together. So thank you so much, Macrin. Thank you so much, CloudForce, for having me. And so let us go straight to our presentation. You'll allow me go off camera, and then I will share my screen. So in case you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can post them on the message box, and then I'll attend to them. I might not be able to see them when I start presenting, so someone will help me to know if I need to pay attention to something. So let me share that screen, share it. So I believe it's somewhere here. Let's go full screen mode from the beginning. All right. So again, someone please confirm to me via audio that you are able to see my screen.
Yes, you can see it.
Awesome. So we are going to talk about SDLC. And as rightfully put by Macrin, indeed we are going to be talking about SDLC because SDLC is like the theme that we have settled for this year as a community. So we are going to be bringing speakers who will be speaking about SDLC in its different flavors. So there are different phases that are involved in SDLC, and there are a lot of amazing things. And again, I like what Macrin said about SDLC being for everyone, because as long as you are in IT, at some point you are interacting with software, at some point you are interacting with applications. And so it is important for us to know the phases or the steps that these applications go through right from ideation to delivery. So it is very, very important for us to get a hold of that. So whether you are an IT support person, whether you are a cloud engineer, whether you are a systems administrator, whether you are a DevOps engineer, a security engineer, the whole nine miles, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your function. This knowledge is important for all of us. So we are going to be looking at it. And so in this webinar, we'll explore the definitions, importance, phases, and best practices. And we'll also cover some specific, some cloud-specific considerations and real-world examples. And maybe before when we get into it, it's important to understand that SDLC does not only apply to cloud computing, it actually also applies to traditional, I like calling it traditional computing, just to distinguish it from cloud computing, but SDLC cuts across. So whatever we are going to discuss here can actually be applied there, and I believe even the speakers that will come after me in the subsequent sessions will be speaking about this, and they'll be speaking about it maybe in terms of on-prem deployments, on-prem development, and others will also be speaking about a mix of two. So let's get into our webinar. And because this is just an introduction, or it's a high-level introduction, the best place to start with is right from the introduction. So it's important also for us to understand that SDLC is a word that is out there, and it's an acronym that stands for Software Development Lifecycle, which is a structured process that ensures high-quality software development and delivery. So being a structured process, it means that it follows a plan of sorts. It follows, there are different phases, there are different stages that any software follows before it finally reaches its users. This is what I was taught. I was taught that when you are designing a software, let's say you are a software engineer or even a software developer, you start with the user in mind and you end with the user in mind. It's not about you, the developer. It's not about you, the engineer. It's about the user. You are trying to create an application that will serve or will solve a problem that that your user has. For instance, if it's a budgeting app, you need to understand that this budgeting app will be used by, say, someone that wants to practice proper financial management in order for them to be able to track their expenditures and stuff like that. So it is for you to sit down and ask yourself, this customer or this user that I am developing this app for, what are their pain points? Then you sit down and then you develop this application for them. And now, before you even start developing an application, it's important for you to know that there are different phases that SDLC covers, and it starts right from planning, and then you go to design, and then you go to development, then you test what you've developed, then you deploy what you have developed and tested, and finally you make sure that this application or this software is maintained. Maintaining might involve things like fixing bugs. So in brief, just a high-level overview, these are the phases, and we'll look at each one of them in some small detail in the next slide that comes after this. So before jumping into the phases, let us just briefly look at the importances, benefits, challenges, and some needs that SDLC tries to address. So SDLC ensures efficient resource utilization, which improves scalability and also helps in reducing cost. So if anybody stops you and asks you what is the importance of SDLC or what are the benefits that accrue to organizations or even to developers that apply proper SDLC principles, you will say that it helps in ensuring that there's efficient resource utilization. Why? Because you've sat down, you have looked at what needs to go into the development of this application, the resources that need to go into it. So you're not guessing, you're not like provisioning these resources and then you end up not using them. So the resources that you're going to use in order to come up with that application have already been planned for. So you know that in this application, these are the kind of resources that will be needed in order for me to develop this application from start to finish. Then we talk about it also improving scalability. Scalability, simply means you look at what you're developing, then you ask yourself, is this able to cover, for example, the needs of 5 users? Can it also cover the needs of 10 users, 50, 100, 1,000 users? So does it scale according to the needs of a particular of your target users? So that is also important. So SDLC helps you also to focus that and to plan for that. And then it also helps to reduce costs. It helps to reduce costs in the sense that, when you reduce wastages in terms of ensuring that you only allocate the resources that you want to use, it helps you to make sure that you focus, you apportion your costs properly, so that you don't just again acquire things or acquire resources that you are not going to use at the end of the day, or through guesswork you are trying this resource, it fails, you stop, and then you've incurred some spend, and then you go for the next and the next and the next, of which would have all been avoided had you just sat down and said, these are the resources I'm going to use, this is the tech stack I'm going to use, and then you focus on that in your process of development, right from start to finish. And then again, when you talk about reducing costs, there are also other costs that comes in terms of software that sometimes you don't look at it, but actually they're very, very costly costs, if I may call them that way. For instance, you have developed this application and then you have not tested it and then you deployed it, which is actually should not be heard of. It's not. I'm not going to call it a bad practice. It's actually a very, very bad practice. You should not deploy an app that has not been tested. You deploy an app that is full of bugs, and then at the end of the day, it maybe exposes your users' data, or it even causes your business to go down, or the business of your client to go down. So those are some of the other costs that SDLC helps you to prevent, because you have looked at every phase, you've covered everything from start to finish. So that is very, very important. So that is why as good engineers, as good developers, we should all be conversant with SDLC, and we should make sure that SDLC principles are what actually governs our operations. Then when we talk about challenges, Traditional SDLC faces version control and integration issues in dynamic cloud environments. Now, simply put, when you talk about this challenge, we are trying to look at it. You see, I've called it traditional. So it is traditional versus cloud computing kind of SDLC. So traditionally, when software was, or let me not say was, because that will be a bit presumptuous, there are organizations which are yet to actually embrace what we call continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. So such organizations do their software development and all these other phases in silos, which is not a very good practice. It's always important to make sure that everybody is working as a team, as a cog, as a part of this cycle. As in, when you start from planning, everybody is on board. Everybody knows that, for instance, let's say it's a team of developers. We know that there is this app that is coming and you're going to build it, and it is in the planning phase. So as it trickles down to the next phase, when the other guys are picking it or the other department is picking it, even the planners are still engaged, you see. So everybody is involved in this thing from beginning to end. So when it comes to integration, if there is an update, it's very easy to integrate when everybody is working together. And I believe that is like something that everybody is looking at nowadays. It's a very efficient way of delivering software applications. And then cloud-specific need. The cloud demands automated testing and continuous deployment for faster release cycles. This one, we'll talk a bit about it because we are looking at SDLC in the context of cloud computing. So when you look at cloud-specific needs, we are trying to talk about another best practice which ensures that, one, when an application has been created or has been developed, it has to be tested, and every time that it goes through a test and it passes the test, it needs to be deployed. So where possible, you are supposed to think about automating the testing and the deployment phases and even the delivery phases of the SDLC. So you look at it this way and you ask yourself, what is the importance of automation? Three things. Number one, automation makes work a bit easy because it is how do I put it? It makes work easy in that you've already, for instance, written your scripts that are supposed, or you are using tools that are supposed to do the testing for you. Once the testing is done and you have found and you have gotten your results, you are now able to see it move straight into deployment, such that every time you are doing an improvement, for instance, for the software devs in this place or even the engineers that are in this place, you always know that an application, let's say an application comes out with version 1, it will not be version 1 forever. Updates will be done, bugs will be fixed, and then you'll move to version 2. Every version of an application has to go through that process of automated testing. And then after it has been tested, it is deployed. Recently, I was talking to some friends. We were just discussing CI/CD, which is a DevOps practice. And then we were looking at it and we were saying that this is ingenious because what it does, let's say, for example, I'm a user of, again, using the example of the budgeting app. I'm using this budgeting app. The only notification I get here is I'm supposed to update my app on my phone. But what I don't know that is happening behind the scenes is that engineers are sitting behind there. They have discovered that there are these bugs that need to be fixed, or there are these improvements that need to be done. And so they are doing all of these things for the benefit of the end user, you see. So it is amazing what engineers can do in the background, but and then for every version, there is no version or rather there's no improvement or even a bug fix that is just supposed to go straight in deployment. It has again to go through automated testing first before it is deployed. So when you automate these processes, it helps in ensuring that there are faster releases. So the release cycle is faster. I hope that one makes sense. So we move to the next. Yes. Now this is like a brief of now the phases that are involved in SDLC in the cloud, and actually it's actually the same even in the traditional SDLC. So you start with planning. Then you go to design, then development, then testing, deployment, and then finally maintenance. It is in the planning phase that you define the project scope and objectives. Say, for instance, you have been tasked or contracted with creating an application for a client. You'll need to sit down with the client and then understand their needs and then understand what they want this application to deliver at the end of the day, or what they want this application to do for them at the end of the day. So that one helps you to define the scope and the objectives of the entire application. You see, the planning phase. So planning is very, very important. Then next you go to the design phase. During the design phase, this is where people like the likes of solutions architects can now come in and look at the business requirement or the client's requirements, and then architect cloud-based solutions or architect solutions that are going to help to bring about this application. You see, to bring about this application, it is the same way that you would think about a house, for instance. You want to build a house. First, you'll sit down with an architect and then give them your vision, the vision of the house. So the architect will help you, or rather the person that I think is the architect, the person that will help you draw your house, draw your house, draw the plan for your house. That is the architect. So they'll help you design it so that you can see, yes, you'll need this many windows here, you need a door here, you need this room here, you need that room there. So that is the work of architects. And I like looking at solutions architect just like the normal architects. If there are solutions architects in the house, you'll tell me if that's what you do, but I believe that's what they do. Then development. Now, once the solutions have been architected, the next step is to develop. Now, when it comes to developing, this is now where we have our coders or developers, or the guys are called front end, back end, and the whole stretch. The full stack guys come in, and now they code and build the application. Again, following what? The plan and following the design. Are you seeing how it ties to one another? So the plan and the design is followed by the developers for them to come up now with the code and now build the application. Then once the developers have coded or built the application, the next phase is testing. Here, quality and performance is tested in order to make sure that, first of all, the application does what it's supposed to do, and then there are no bugs, and then it matches the quality that has been set by the quality assurance people within the cycle. And then after the application passes the testing phase, it moves to deployment. In the deployment, here is where now the application is released to the cloud environment. So we have talked about, I've mentioned the cloud environment because you're talking about SDLC in the cloud. So if it's about releasing, now you're deploying this application to the cloud so that it can be accessed by your end users. So, the likes of, for instance, you can actually deploy there are different ways that you can deploy an application to the cloud. You can use a server, you can go serverless, you can do containerization, you can containerize the app, all of those. There are different ways in which you can deploy. So after you've deployed, it doesn't end there. There is monitoring and updating the application. As I had mentioned before, an application does not always stay at version 0. It will need to be updated with newer updates or with newer features. It will need to be any bugs that have been discovered maybe in the process of its release, or customers have complained about a feature that's not working or a feature that will be better. Even just using feedback from them, you can improve your application, you can improve the application and then release it again to them through that process of continuous testing and continuous deployment and delivery. So that's very, very important. So monitoring and updating the application is very, very important. So those are the 6 SDLC phases that you can find in the cloud and even outside of the cloud. Oh, and remember, these phases, the way you see them here, in as much as I've just given you a high-level overview of each one of them, they are going to be covered during our subsequent webinars. We'll be having someone who will come to speak to us specifically about planning as a phase, and then we'll also be having a weekly challenge. A challenge just on planning, so that we not only just have theory, the theoretical knowledge of planning, but also get into the depths of it and understand how it is done. And then someone from the field will also come and tell us, when it comes to planning, this is what it entails, this is what we do, these are the challenges that we face. Then a designer will come, an architect will come and talk to us. all of these steps all the way to step 6 and anything in between. So it's going to be an interesting year, a very impactful year for all of us. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to learn about these things in depth. Then now, when we talk about cloud-specific consideration, we are looking at 4 main things. And these are very important because the cloud environment allows you to enjoy all of them without having to sacrifice any of them. So we are looking at scalability. Here we talk about design for automatic scaling to handle traffic spikes. As we had just spoken about, let me move away from the example of a budgeting app and now move to something like an e-commerce application. Yes, an e-commerce application. So when we talk about an e-commerce application, you know that there are those months or those days or those weeks where there might be higher traffic than normal. So those are what we call spikes in traffic. So if if an application attracts so many users or so many people at a given time, then the application that you have built must be built in such a way that it scales with ease. It scales with ease, meaning that it can serve as many people as are trying to access it. And those who are familiar with the likes of AWS services or Azure services or any other cloud provider, you know that that scalability is one of those things that actually the cloud environment allows you to it allows your applications to enjoy. Then number 2, we talk about cost optimization. It's always important to monitor cloud resources usage and costs. So you can actually do this again, looking at an example of AWS, and I'm using AWS a lot because that is the cloud that I'm most familiar with. With a cloud provider like AWS, you can actually set budgets. And you can also set alarms, which will alert you in case a threshold has been exceeded in terms of the spend that you were hoping not to exceed, stuff like that. So cost optimization is something that you can also benefit from. Then security. I normally say security is important, and indeed it is. And I believe that we all know security is important. And one thing that we try to tell anyone that cares to listen, that it's important for you to integrate security into the SDLC process right from the beginning, right from planning. As you plan with security in mind. As you deploy with security in mind. So security is not just a phase. That's why you've not actually seen anywhere that you just said that this phase, like for example, phase 7, we have security down there. No, security covers everything from start to finish. So it's important to implement robust security measures to protect data. You know that we are in a season where there has been an increase in terms of cybersecurity threats, in terms of threat actors trying to access personal identifiable information. So even as an engineer, be it a cloud engineer, a software engineer, or even a DevOps engineer, it's very important for you to know how to protect data. There are very many regulations that have been set out there. One key among them is HIPAA. HIPAA is for health, and I believe it is in the US. In Kenya, we have the Kenya Data Protection Act. Yes, Kenya Data Protection Act. Then there is also another one called GDPR. So all of these regulations have been set out intentionally to ensure that personal data is protected. It's very important for us to understand that, because one thing I normally say and I normally argue, and I've actually seen it in practice, is that regardless of the application that you are building, at some point it will ingest data, and at some point it will actually ingest data that is categorized as personal PII data. So it is very important for you to know how to secure this data. So as you are securing your application, you're also protecting the data that you are receiving. For instance, you receive, let's say, for example, you are processing payments through your application. You need to know how to protect things like credit card numbers if you are receiving from those and stuff like that. So that's very important. Then we talked about automation. So automation is important for you to consider automating testing, deployment, and monitoring. And there are tools out there that can actually help you do this. So don't overstretch yourself trying to do things manually, which might actually introduce some vulnerabilities. So automate, because these tools have been proven. You see, for instance, testing things, a tool like Selenium has been used and it is being used and it works. So don't overstretch yourself and then you end up doing what is not right. Now, for case studies, these ones I picked some of these from LinkedIn because I've been seeing a lot of case studies about these three companies specifically, and then you can see that these are actually big companies. There's no one who does not know about Netflix, Airbnb, and Spotify. If you are into movies, you must have known that there's Netflix. It's bigger than Showmax. If you are into not really into, but Airbnb, and everybody knows it because it is a service that came up to revolutionize how people spend their accommodation in terms of, let's say you've traveled to a new place, you need not just book an hotel, you can actually book what we call an Airbnb. And then of course Spotify, for those guys that are into podcast and music. So these are big companies. So you can see that Netflix has leveraged cloud native SDLC for continuous delivery. Cloud native is an interesting term. Let me just consult my notes. I wrote something down about it here. So let me just a second. So cloud native is very, very interesting. Where are those notes? Just a second. So there is a way. Where is it? Here it is. Yes, found it. Awesome. Found it. So cloud native this is an approach for building and running applications that fully leverage cloud computing advantages. So when you're talking about cloud native here, you are actually building your apps in the cloud. You see, so a company like if you see a company like Netflix is building its apps, or rather every application that it's using in order to serve customers from across the globe, because this is a global service, is actually they have entrusted it to the cloud. So this is actually very, very good because, again, as we saw before, we say that cloud computing offers advantages even to SDLC in terms of scalability, automation, resilience, and security. So that is very, very important. Now, when you talk about, when you look at Airbnb and what they have done, when you look at Airbnb and what they have done, so Airbnb has been able to adapt DevOps practices for rapid cloud deployments. So DevOps practices where we have the two teams, developers and operations, working together in order to make sure that any updates that need to be released to the end user is actually done in record time. So that's very, very good. Then Spotify, what has Spotify done? Spotify has automated testing and deployment with the cloud SDLC. So these are just some of the companies. And you see, if such big companies have been able to do what we have just seen on this slide, then that one gives us a lot of confidence even for us to do the same when we are doing our projects, for us to try this out. And now when we join organizations, be they startups, be they mid-level companies or even big companies, and then you are in the decision-making panel in terms of which way to go, you are able actually to cite this as examples of companies that have successfully used SDLC in the cloud. And now we talk about best practices for SDLC in the cloud. This is more or less like just a repeat of what we have just talked about, but it's important. I believe that repetition is for emphasis. And you see, here we are talking about automation, monitoring, and security. When you talk about automation, we are looking at automating testing and deployment processes. And as I had just mentioned, there are tools for that. I'll not belabor that point. And then there is monitoring, where you implement continuous monitoring and performance. It's very important. Once you have released an application, you continue looking at it, or rather watching it, or rather monitoring it. And again, there are tools for that. There are tools that help you do that, for you to make sure that your application performs the way it's supposed to perform, or rather it performs optimally. So in case there are anything that you need to improve on, you can always improve on. And then, as I had mentioned, security is very, very important in SDLC. So you have to consider prioritizing security at every stage of the SDLC phase, right from planning all the way to maintenance. You have to inject security in each and every one of those phases. All right, and that right there brings us to the end of our small presentation. And so I am going to wait first. Where is that? All right. I need to go back to the presentation. So I'm going to open the floor to any questions, to any additions, to any comments. Anybody, you're welcome. It's your time. So, SDLC. Does anybody have a question? And if you don't have a question, I'll ask questions. I do ask questions. If you've understood what I've just said, please give me a thumbs up. If you've understood what I've presented, please give me a thumbs up. I can see 2 thumbs up. Where are the rest? Titus, I can't see you. Cyprian, Ian, Evans. So, let's talk. Before we talk, let me ask, any questions? No questions. Any comments? Any addition? You guys are engineers. You must have come across something that I've not said. Or you might be having any question, or you might be split between a few things that we've talked about. It will be interesting to have some engagement. Okay. Let me also look for some reactions. If you don't want to talk, we are going to use reactions then. Anybody that has been engaged in any of the phases that we talked about? Let's say, for example, do you have any developers in the house? If there's a developer in the house, please raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Raise and raise it. I'm not going to pick you to say anything. Just raise it. Yes, Steve, I've seen you there. Any other developer in the house? Oh, we only have 1 developer in the house. All right. Any security engineer in the house, be it a cybersecurity engineer, security is broad. Any security person in the house? No security person. It means that I'm alone again. We are not going to end this webinar before I hear someone telling me something. So, Steve, you're my friend and a colleague, so you're going to help me here. So, Steve, I'm going to ask a simple question. No, not really a simple one. Titus, thank you. I can see you're a network infrastructure engineer. I'm coming to you after Steve. So I'm just asking a simple question. So, Steve, so in terms of SDLC, have you ever done a project where you've applied or you have followed all those steps? And did you do it alone, or was it like in a team setup?
I recently did a project. It was part of a school project where I had to do all the phases that you've talked about.
Wow. That is very, very interesting. That's very interesting. Now, when we look at this, a follow-up question, but now directed to Titus. Titus, in your network infrastructure engineering, do you also follow the same phases that we just discussed? Oh, Titus might be unable to speak. Maybe that's why he was typing. Maybe he's still typing. Evans, are you able to speak? Oh, today's people's microphones are down. All right. So, Macreen, we are back. I'm seeing there are no questions. I hope lack of questions means that we understood what we just talked about SDLC. But rest assured, what we have said is that this year we are going to be talking a lot about SDLC, and we are going to be looking at each of those phases. So I'm already looking forward to the next month, where we'll be having a different speaker coming to speak to us about an aspect of SDLC. So I hope we are going to have you guys coming back, and then we build on what we just learned today. And then also to just test your understanding, maybe you can consider checking our, let me see if I can get it. I saw it somewhere. Let me just see if I can get it. Where did I push it? Not there. There is something that I wanted to show you. You can check. Oh man, I hope I'm not going to. Okay, here it is. So you can. Okay, Macrin, confirm to me if you can see the challenge on my screen.
Yes, I can see.
Yes. Now to test your understanding, there's an awesome challenge here that was posted by Macrin on our WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group, and you guys can join us. If you're here and you are not part of that WhatsApp group, you can join us there. This is a very interesting challenge. It's always important to build in public. So you can write an article and host it in a place like, you post it on a blog, like a place like Medium or dev.to or Hashnode, just building on this. And then when you do those other challenges, you continue doing the same thing. You see, now someone will see that actually you are building expertise in that particular space. So I was just brushing through it, and I really liked what I saw here, because it helps you understand different things. Like you can see here, the task here is to create an article explaining SDLC, and the objective is to write an informative article that explains SDLC in detail. You see, then there's the task breakdown from introduction to SDLC, the phases of SDLC, and then there is the deployment phase, why SDLC is important. These are things that we have discussed. Common SDLC models, I did not get into this, but this is something that is also equally important. You see, we have DevOps model down there, and then challenges that you might face in SDLC. So best practices for SDLC. You see all that. So this is a very interesting challenge. Personally, I'll be doing it, and I'll be posting it, and then I'll also share it on LinkedIn. So if you're following me on LinkedIn, rest assured you will see it before next week. I'll post a link. I normally blog on dev.to, so I'll do a blog, post it there, and then the link will be on my LinkedIn. And I'd like to encourage all of us to do that. Let us be people who are committed to learning. So you learn a new thing, write something about it, and then post it. Yes, Steve.
Now that you threw questions my way, I also have a question for you.
All right.
You gave examples of 3 companies that have SDLC in action, but I don't think you spoke about how they differ. So what's the difference between what Netflix, Airbnb, and Spotify use in the SDLC cycle?
Well, interesting question. A very good one. Let me just go back to that. From my research that I did on them, I saw they are not actually different. They're not different. They don't differ. The only thing is, as you can see, it's just one line on each one of them. But if you do a deeper reading in their documentation, you'll see that they've actually done the same thing, because SDLC is just SDLC. So the only I picked out what really stood out for them, as in what did they really do well. You see, so like Netflix leveraged cloud native SDLC for continuous delivery. So that, so for instance, for Netflix, it's very, very important for them to make sure that that app is continually updated in order to handle maybe the different types of movies that are coming up. Like let's say, for instance, there is I don't know if it's mov.mp4. Okay, those different types of movies and the different things that they handle, because theirs is they are specifically interested in that. So they were focusing on continuous delivery. Then when you look at Airbnb, their focus now here was on deployment. You see, now deployment, you see, delivery speaks to ensuring that the end user gets access to whatever has been updated, yani the updated application. Now, for deployment, here they are doing the. I remember I did a project with you on Airbnb. You remember there is something that they do on the back in terms of trying to update their code base or update whatever their code is able to do. So if they are improving it and making it faster or refactoring their code to make sure that it performs better, they are now able to deploy it rapidly so that even the end user is also able to enjoy the same provision. Automating testing and deployment, this one now combines like the two of them. This is now what Spotify has been able to do. So the long and the short of it is that they have not really done things differently. It's only that I focused on this one-liners for each one of them to show what they have done really, really well. Yes.
A follow-up?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a coincidence that you chose 3 companies that majorly focus on different media types? Because for Netflix, they focus mostly on distributing data, which is in video format. Mm-hmm. Airbnb is probably images. Mm-hmm. And what was the last company?
Spotify.
Spotify is for music. So I thought the SDLC cycle might differ slightly, but if they all use the same thing, then I guess it's fine.
Yes. Interesting observation. Actually, the reason why I chose them because they are like companies that stand out. As in, for instance, there is no one who does not know Netflix. But if there is, maybe someone can tell me. There is no one who does not know Spotify, and there is no one who does not know Airbnb. So I chose them, one, because they are very, very famous, or they are out there. And then the other reason is also because of their size and their scale of operation. If you look at them, you'll see that all of them are global companies. So it was very, very important to use something that is big and known so that people can see that actually SDLC, if big companies have embraced SDLC best practices, then it is something that all the others need to follow suit for those who are not doing it. Yeah. So that is the basis of choosing them. Yeah. Yeah, so Cyprian and anybody else who has not joined CloudForce, there is a link that has been provided down there. It's a very easy join process, so click it, follow through. You can also follow us via LinkedIn, and anybody that is interested to just rewatch this presentation, please also feel free to follow us on our YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel, the link to the YouTube channel will be shared, I believe, in the group. It's already shared in LinkedIn, so we'll be able to continue learning together. So that's my time. That's all I had for you guys today. I hope the session was insightful. So let me thank all of you for showing up for the session, and looking forward to. Oh, Ian has his hand up. Or was he?
So I have a question.
Yes, Ian.
On the advantages of SDLC, you talked about reducing cost. Mm-hmm. Is it different from minimizing costs, or the terms can be used interchangeably?
Yes, good question, and thank you. You've just answered it very, very correctly. Reduction of cost is actually equivalent to minimizing cost, because cost is something that you have to spend. That's why when we talk about cost in terms of software development, we are talking about spend. Especially when we talk about cloud computing, we talk about spend. You are trying to reduce spend. Reduce spend is also minimizing spend. So yes, you're very right. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I hope that was answered well. Yeah, thanks for that, Ian. So Macrin, back to you.
Yes, Patrick. Thank you for the great session, and I hope everyone has learned something from this session, and we are hoping to see more of you in the next sessions. So Patrick, thank you, and everyone, thank you for attending. That's been a great session. And you can link up with Patrick if you have any questions later, and he will be available. So thank you, guys. for this great session. And you may have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Macrin. Good night, everybody.